Listener mail number 2.
All right.
To Josh from Valerie. We have a new pro-choice fan. Now, this is actually going to be a really
Very
weird
cool.
thing for
Interesting.
our new viewers. This might seem like an odd. Is it a pro-life show, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this is a pro-life show. But we've been very purposeful in trying to be as fair as possible to both sides.
Right.
Right.
You know, you've probably noticed already. You know, I sometimes pick a little bit on pro-lifers when they make poor arguments or maybe make the wrong moves when it comes to strategy and tactics. And so, you know, because I just think that we should be thought of as people that think clearly. We shouldn't just follow any.
Or try to.
Yeah, we should try to think clearly.
Doing my best
Or
over
to be
here.
intellectually honest.
Be intellectually honest, be open-minded
Yeah.
to hearing what both sides have to say, and not just we're only going to read our pro-life blogs and we're all like, no, let's take a look at what both sides have to say. And
Right.
so we actually have several pro-choice people that listen to all the episodes. They enjoy them. They like to hear. I'd like to think that maybe that makes some small difference, but that's not my goal. My goal is just to do the right thing, which is to be as intellectually honest as possible.
Right.
And so this is just our newest email from a pro-choice fan.
Okay.
Valerie says, I just started listening to the Pro-Life podcast, and despite the fact that I'm ardently pro-choice and I don't anticipate that ever changing, I do find your podcast interesting and refreshing. I feel there's value in understanding and appreciating others' political viewpoints. And as of late, I feel as if the public face of the Republican Party in the United States has become increasingly radical and irrational, and this podcast seems like a breath of fresh air. I relish the opportunity to hear the opinions of smart and articulate people, even if I don't agree with them. And in doing so, I'm often surprised at how much both sides of a debate want the same things, but disagree on the means to that end. To quote The West Wing, the things that unite us are far greater than the things that divide us. Valerie.
Interesting statement.
It's a couple interesting
She's
things
touching
there.
on some good psychological points, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be true that the things that unite us are there are a greater number of them, and we hold them very dear, and that's very important in reaching common ground. But us as a podcast, we as a podcast, use proper.
Is a podcast
proper
a person
grammar.
now?
Us, the podcast.
Right.
No, but
The
we as a
collective.
podcast, we don't compromise that difference.
Right.
And that's important if you are
the difference being what?
the difference between the pro-choice view and our view, which depends on the valuable humanity of the unborn child.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I think that's the key point, because seeking unity and seeking common ground is wonderful, and it's a tool that we teach and we teach and we teach, but it has that you could fall into the error of compromising your beliefs,
Right.
and ending up with this "let's go hug everybody" mentality or something.
It becomes the because I love the fact that we have pro-choice fans
Right.
that appreciate the fact that it seems like they can tell that we want to be intellectually honest.
Right.
Exactly.
And I appreciate that when I see that on the other side, and so I love that. But what I guess the difference, what I see, what you're talking about is the difference between like when Steve Wagner talks about common ground, and when he
Right.
talks about that is let's find things that we can agree with pro-choice people.
Exactly.
We want to see less abortions. We think that women shouldn't be lied to. You know, there's these different things that we can all agree on. Maybe late-term abortions are wrong, but then Obama talks about common ground, and when Obama talks about common ground, it's this very different version of common ground. It's basically we disagree, and it's a sensitive issue, and so let's all just try to get along and let's go do pro-choice things, because that's what's going to end abortion. So let's give out as much contraception as possible, and all these different, whatever
right.
Planned Parenthood is we
when they
should do.
say let's agree, let's have common ground, but keep abortion happening,
Right.
we're
Yeah,
not
it's-
gonna
okay,
sit
that's-
around and
right.
say, oh, okay, we'll just
It's
we'll
a different
all-
kind of common ground.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and one of the things I think that I'm very thankful that Valerie wrote to us, because I think it helps us. One of the things, Valerie, that we like is we like to hear what we're not thinking, and you can present that perspective better than we can, obviously.
Right.
But I'll gently challenge you, Valerie. You start with saying you're unwilling to change your mind, and I totally believe that. I mean, I consider myself unwilling to change my mind on many things, but I'd like to think that I'm open to understanding why I might change my mind, because I have changed my mind on all kinds of different
Right.
things. Maybe not abortion, but on other things. And I'm open, believe it or not, I'm open to changing my mind on abortion.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take a lot to.
It'd be a radical change for
Yeah,
the
it'd be a
podcast.
pretty radical thing for me. But being open-minded, I really appreciate. I think Valerie, I think you, I'm saying this in jest, you sort of contradict yourself because you're actually going to communicate with us. You're open to hearing at least our thoughts on things, and we appreciate that, whether you agree with them or not.
Yeah, see, I don't see a contradiction there. I see her saying she's predicting that she's not going to change her mind, but she wants to hear what we have to say.
Yeah,
so I guess
I appreciate that. Yeah, totally.
I guess the attitude that I'm striving for myself is the same one that you have. Is that I know right now. I'm not just saying it's not rhetoric. I'm saying it right now what is today? It's like June 11th that we're recording this.
Technically, it'll
be like a month before it airs, but anyway, whatever. On this day, I have wrong views about some things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't know what they are yet, so I haven't changed them yet, and so
right out of the Justice for All.
Yeah.
Steve Wagner handbook.
Yeah, that's actually a Greg Koukl quote, I think. But we're on this quest for truth, for more truth, and we're all kind of in that same situation, those of us that are seeking truth. I guess there's some people that are just kind of, I think I'm right about 100% of what I believe in.
Falsehood.
Yeah, and no one's that far.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So
hopefully,
yeah, I'm like Valerie. I appreciate being able to hear the best of the other side and being able to really let's grapple with their arguments. There are some really strong, intimidating arguments on the other side, and I don't think we should just kind of ignore those and just keep on going with our thing. I think we should pay attention to them.
Yeah,
so.
I agree.
Totally. Good email.
Sorry, I thought you were putting up your hand to say something, but you weren't. It's all right.
No, it's cool.
Next mail.
Listener mail number 3. Woohoo! This is from one of our great podcast fans. He prefers not to go by his first name. He goes by his kind of this is his nickname basically. That's put together is Nulono, and it would take too long to explain what that means. But
Sounds like
he's a
username.
He's a very big fan of the podcast. He does have differing religious views than us, which is totally cool. He actually is like, I think he'd be fine with me saying he describes himself as an anti-theist, and so he believes that religion actually is hurting society. But he's completely pro-life, has listened to every single episode, and sends in by far more listener mail than anybody else that listens to this show.
We need applause for that. Can we get applause for that?
Can we get applause for that? We can get applause for that. There's applause plus cheering.
Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Go
Thank you, Nulono.
Go Nulono.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This is not a wacky radio show at all.
It's just wacky people on it, that's all.
I like sound effects. They're fun. That's just me.
So Nulono's awesome. I actually get to play Scrabble with this guy, just so you get a little picture of my life. I got the Scrabble game on my iPod Touch, and we actually play Scrabble together. So he's very interactive. So he sends in this email. He's got a couple of questions we're going to respond to today. He says, I dare Josh to find one episode where you don't say kind of a thing. Or some variation thereof.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, seriously, Josh.
Do I do that a lot?
You know.
Kind of the thing that you do all the time is.
It's kind of like that thing.
I didn't know I did that. And I edit these things, and I was like, wow, I guess.
That's okay. I use a lot.
So I'm
for a public speaker.
I'm going to say no. I think I'm just going to keep on doing it. Thanks for the question. Second question. What do you think of the mantra, if you can't trust me with a choice, how can you trust me with a child? So this is a common slogan that's on pro-choice science. If you can't trust me with a choice, how can you trust me with a child? And he goes on to say, if you turn it into, if you can't trust me not to kill my child, how can you trust me to raise her? It seems to make sense. What do you guys think?
I think that's a powerful pro-choice slogan.
Okay.
I think it's one of the more difficult to refute, because if you follow that particular logic, if you're really arguing about whether or not we can trust women to make a choice, then it seems like, well, if they can't make a simple choice, then obviously they can't raise a child, and it flows very logically. Right. But if you break it down, what you're really saying is, look at it as an analogy, like, if you have a mother who has a 2-year-old son, and you can't trust her to take care of that child, what do we do?